Announcements before we get started. Friday, May 20th, this coming Friday, is National Bike to Work Day. So the city is doing a bike event at 8 a.m. at the trailhead. Helmets are required, lights are strongly recommended, and the ride will go from the trailhead out to Old Orchard Road and back again. And there are t-shirts, so if anybody's interested, you can meet up at the trailhead. The second announcement is the Lewis Summer Concert Series begins on June 7th at Stango Park. Concerts are from 7 to 8:30 through August 23rd, so there are 12 concerts. I'm happy to report that this year we do have a rain location with Cape Henlopen High School, unless anything changes with the current pandemic. I think we're in an endemic now, but for now we do have that rain location. The Lewis Line, which is our shuttle service through the city, the launch is May 23rd, and there will be a launch kickoff celebration at 8:30 at the ferry terminal. There are 8 stops, 5 of which are in city parks, so I would encourage anybody that's available on Monday the 23rd at 8:30 to please come down and help us kick off that celebration. Finally, I have Barry Dunkin is excused and Ed Tessine is excused for tonight. Are there any other announcements from the table? No? Okay. I am going to move one agenda item up after we do the approval of minutes. I will be moving E1 under new business up before we do the commissioner's report. We do have Jordon Petterson here to speak to us, and he's had a long day, so we're gonna let him get home. So with that being said, we can start through the agenda. B1 is the approval of the minutes from the meeting on April 18th. Have you all had an opportunity to review them?
I have two corrections.
Okay.
Jackie, can you hear? You on?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I can hear. If you could just a little closer to the mic.
Yeah, you have to get really
Oh,
close.
sorry.
Awful. Okay, I hear, all
Okay,
right.
thank you, Jackie. On page 2, under
Okay.
trees, the first paragraph, the next to last line, it talks about 1 trillion trees by 2020. It should be 2030.
Okay,
And then later in that same line where it says Dover, that should be Delaware's urban forester.
oh, okay,
Okay, that's it. Thank you, Jackie.
all right.
Thank you, Marty. Any other corrections or comments on the minutes? Do we have a motion to approve? Harry, thank you. Second. Marty, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, meeting minutes are approved. So I would like to welcome Jordon Petterson. Item E1 is presentation, discussion, and possible action on a request from Mr. Petterson to stock Blockhouse Pond and hold a fishing tournament. So I had the opportunity to meet Mr. Petterson just now, and we had a nice chat, so I'm anxious to hear what you have to say, and I'm sure the commissioners do as well.
All right, well, lovely weather we've had, thankfully, right? I'm a born and raised Lewis boy, 43 years. I was born in Beebe Hospital and lived on Beebe Avenue, so that's where my roots are. My house is right at 130 McPhee Street, and my grandfather was a big part of this building right here. So I feel that I really, truly need to give back to this community in any way possible, and I guess my quickest way would be, I have recently purchased the little yellow shack right by Arby's sign. It's Henlopen Bait and Tackle. I own the bait and tackle shop. The response from the community and the response from the parents who have children, it doesn't seem that there's a lot of people. I've had a long day. I've talked to a lot of people today. I've been at a funeral all day long, so I don't directly look at everybody. Just let me speak how I speak when my mind goes. There has to be several companies that give back to not the adults, that give back to the kids. And my quickest way of being able to give back to kids, I have a 19-year-old, I have a 16-year-old, my wife's a school teacher for Shields Elementary, which is now Lewis, back to Lewis Middle, right? So, or Lewis School. But I grew up walking down BB Avenue, passing the Wiggins house, passing a lot of local people's house who still have family here in Lewis. And I used to walk right across the street and go to Blockhouse Pond, the one that's right behind BB Hospital. For years of me growing up, the state, I'm assuming, or at least the town, I'm assuming, used to do a stocking, where they would stock it with trout. And I guess what I'm proposing is, I would like to be that guy who gets this back going, and I will donate the funds to secure the fish, whether it be from a company that Lewis or, Parks and Recreation have already been using for years, Ingram's Pond and the other ponds. They get stocked from the state, I'm assuming, and I'll coincide with whatever organizations you all would choose, unless you want me to go with a private organization, which there's one in Virginia, there's one in Maryland, there's one in Pennsylvania. I've already done all the research on how much it would cost, the quantity of the fish, and I'm a fisherman. I grew up running scuba and fishing charters out of Lewis with my mother. I feel that I've got a pretty good finger on what to use, what to do, how to fish, how to have a good time on the water. And with Blockhouse Pond right now, I don't know if any of you all know this, but Blockhouse Pond right now, if I were to take just you guys on a trip to Blockhouse Pond, I could set you up with worms or 2 or 3 lures that everybody right here would catch a fish. I mean, almost inevitable, you guys would catch a fish. So being 43 now and not seeing Blockhouse Pond really have anything more going to it besides the maintenance, the grass we cut and everything like that, I would like to stock it. I would like to stock the pond, and if it wants to be an annual thing, we can do an annual thing. If it's a one-time thing, it's a one-time thing. It doesn't matter to me, but I will take care of all the proceeds. I will take care of any bit of money that needs to be paid to get the fish there, get the pond stocked, and then the only caveat that I would ever ask of any of y'all is to let me have the kids tournament. Just a kids tournament. And if the next day after, we could do a parent and kids tournament. But getting the younger generations fishing and out in the outdoors and literally not looking at kids who are like this all day long. I have a 19-year-old, a 16-year-old. They love the outdoors. I love the outdoors. I'm a hunter and a fisherman. I am a fisherman first. And giving back to these kids is something that if we do not do now, I'm 43, if by 53 and 63 and 73, I have not felt that I have given back to it, whether it's this community or another town, it doesn't matter, but if I haven't given back to the children, I'm going to feel like I haven't gotten anything done, haven't got anything accomplished. So if there's a company that Delaware uses that we could be in contact with each other and we directly, or I write Lewis a check, it doesn't matter to me. What I would like to do is just have the permission to be able to stock the pond, and then we just see how it goes. We see how it goes. If it's something that when I post, and I hate Facebook, God, I hate Facebook, but I use Facebook as the only bit of marketing from my company. I have 3 companies, but the Headlip and Bait and Tackle, the fishing company, is the only one that I don't bring home. It's the only one that I wake up in the morning and I'm super stoked to go to. And I had a kids tournament the second week of March of this year. Had 18 kids, which I threw it together, to be honest with you. I threw it together. I had 18 kids, and they caught 89 fish. It was 18 kids who are 13 and under. They don't drive. Their parents took the initiative to spend the time with their kids for an 8-hour day fishing. It was one of the most heartwarming events that I've ever been able to be involved in, and I've been involved in a lot of stuff, a lot of donating, a lot of charity, and it was probably the most rewarding for me. I'm not worried about the price. I'm not worried about anything more than the yes from Lewis that we could do this. I will donate back to the Blockhouse maintenance program if that makes it more worth the while. I mean, I'm sure you guys have state employees who take care of all the grounds and everything like that, but I would also be inclined actually to donate to the maintenance. So allowing me to stock the pond, which I'll take care of, allowing me to have a tournament for the kids, which I'll take care of. I will also donate back to Lewis for maintenance of Blockhouse Pond. If you guys have a certain amount each year for maintenance, then I'll help out with that. And that's really truly all I ask is, if everybody says yes and everybody's okay with it, that either you do allow me to have the information of the company that you guys like to use to put the fish in, and then from there, it can be, you can send me an invoice, right? Or I will make all the phone calls and do all the legwork possible to get this done, and do it nighttime, do it out of the, don't cause any, disruption with the daily, passenger cars on Savannah Road. I think it would be something that would be kind of special. I really do, and I'm not asking Lewis for a dime. I will take care of everything. I just need to have everybody's blessing that says it's gonna be fun. And if it is fun, and it does work out good, we'll do it again next year. And then we'll do it again next year. And then we'll do it again the next year. I don't need to make a single dime off of any of this. I just cannot have what I see every day of the week, which is children walking down the road with their phones in their face, which is passing cars with kids with their phones in their face. These will be the death of us. They will be. These will be the death of us. And getting your grandkids, getting your kids, getting your brother to get off the couch and take your nephew out it's what needs to be done. So I'm proposing that you can simply send me an invoice, or I'll take all the legwork, just say, yes, I can do it.
Okay. Are there
Question?
questions, comments? Yes.
Throw me every question, please.
So if you were permitted to do this stocking of the pond, what time frame of the year would that be appropriate in your estimation?
Now that we're getting into the season, sooner than later.
Mhm.
What I would have rather have done I got a hold of you, I got a hold of you and said, when Delaware was stocking the ponds, ooh, let's do it now. But I was a day late and $1 short on when the state stocks all the other ponds. It could have just been a roundabout where they did Ingram's, they did Newton's, and then they came and did Blockhouse, and that was it. So to do one this year, it would be as soon as possible. Because when the hot water, so these fish are stocked and they're bred to be eaten. They're not stocked, and they're not farm raised to be caught, looked at, get your picture, and put them back in the water. They're bred to be eaten, and it's a very, very good source of nutrition. And it's, the limit size is for what Delaware allows is 6. That's a great day of fishing for a kid. Doesn't matter how big it is. I did have one citation come in this year. It came from Newton's Pond. And I would have loved to have seen that it came from Blockhouse Pond. So basically
And if it were stocked in a time frame pretty soon,
Yep.
then when would you like to have the tournament for the children?
Immediately after, the next day after.
Oh,
So-
okay,
Okay.
okay.
So when I put a post out there on Facebook, 47,000 people see it
Mm-hmm,
from me. And then another 30,000 people see it from different states. And the revenue that it could probably bring in from just an adult getting a fishing license to be able to go fishing with their child would probably be very overwhelming, to be honest with you.
Because they used to
They
do
used
it.
to,
And they used
yeah.
to stock it,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
which is wonderful and,
Yeah.
not just for children,
So
but.
Harry, I was gonna ask Harry, we got some recommendations, I'm sorry. So Harry, could you remind us, we got some recommendations from the state about this, was it last year or the year before?
The oxygen levels,
No, we're good. You can put fish in there and the fish will live.
so I think they'd be eaten in a matter of.
Well,
a week and a half.
the fish you're putting in should be eaten in a manner, because DenRec has, we put catch and release signs all around the pond. We have bass and we have sunnies in there who survive, who
Absolutely.
reproduce, and actually, I'm looking through my phone because we had a guy, I was walking the dog and a guy caught a fish, and I said, let me take a picture, because it was a sizable bass.
Absolutely.
And I'd like to expand the idea. I love the idea of stocking with trout, but trout will not survive.
No, then that's the whole entire point. That's the entire point. My nephew is about this big, and he has a 4.5-pound bass out of that pond.
Yes.
4.5-pound bass comparable to him is, it's incredible.
Yeah, and as DenRec said, they want a catch and release policy because there's a lot of reasons why.
Absolutely.
I would like to personally see that go twofold. Yes, let's stock for trout, let's have a fishing tournament. Those fish will not make it through the season.
They won't make it for 2 weeks.
But I'd like to see more of a hands-on approach to helping the pond
Okay?
with bass and sunnies. And they also can be stocked, and we could stock them much earlier than your tournament,
I'm loving what you're saying.
so that we can start up, because we've been seriously looking at the edge of the pond. There's a lot of things we need to do with a living shoreline, but one of the things we need to do is add grasses, which will give the fish a chance to go in and spawn in the grasses, and the babies, the young, can hide till they, but we're lucky we don't have any snappers. We have painted,
Just a painter's note.
yeah, and, but I would like to take your offer. I think it's great. I think we could work with DenRec, and see what they have to say. They might also, I mean, we could make it an independent thing where it's your baby. But if we could involve DenRec and we could make it an annual event, it would be good, because we are all the time looking for things that we can bring the community to our parks. And I think that's a great idea.
Thank you.
We have stocked in the past, but like I said, trout don't make it. I'd like to see us stocking in early spring
So would I.
with fish I know who will have a lifetime in our pond.
Absolutely. So crappie would be a very good investment in there,
Exactly.
right?
Pike.
Pickerel would not be.
Right. Like I said, we pull bass and we pull sunnies out of there, but they go back in. And personally, I think that's the way we should still leave the catch and release signs up.
You should check my Facebook page out and see how my interaction is with my clients. The striper run is going on right now.
Oh, yeah.
And if they have a fat belly, my clients are not allowed to bring them to my shop
Well,
at all.
and
The
yeah,
fat belly's eggs.
a rockfish it's a whole nother problem
Mhm.
or situation.
Yep.
But I would love to see the pond, and I would love to have your commitment. I'll give you, somewhere along the line, I'll give you my information.
Appreciate that.
And you and I can have further discussion
I
on it.
appreciate that very much.
And, oh yeah, I'm a commissioner of Blockhouse.
Sounds good. I'm the local guy who owns the tackle shop.
Well, We know where that is. I mean, that's always been fun to look at the multitude of signs.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
But that's, I think it's a great idea.
Are there other comments?
I think it's a great idea as well. I just had a question about the licensing.
Yep.
Can that be waived for the kids tournament?
I wouldn't waive it.
No?
No,
Okay.
that's more revenue that the town can bring
Okay,
in.
I was just, I didn't know what the
That's- I mean,
licensing
and
requirements were.
We're all in
Well,
agreement that we just want, we're
it's
all
not-
for, we
what?
want to do it, then yes, make it free
Yeah,
for
they're not,
anybody.
they're
But
not
Well,
city.
what-
Think
what-
about
the-
it as a, the other side of the, coin there. If I put it out there, a lot of other people put it out there, it's gonna get big. And it
What's a
could be
children's
100 people.
fishing license cost?
16 and under,
Yeah,
$0.
well, that, I think that's
Okay,
the point.
I'm not familiar with
Right.
the
That's the point
licensing.
that we
Right.
emphasized
That's
here.
why I wanted to discuss it.
Do the kids actually need a license, or do they,
No.
can they fish for, they just?
16 and under.
16 and under, you need no license.
Right.
So the tournament is for children 16 and under, correct?
Absolutely.
But
But I-
if they're accompanied by the adult,
There
they're
you go.
waived as well.
No, what I think what we should do is, the very day after it is stocked and the fish are in there fresh, and
Hungry.
you know the largemouth bass aren't going crazy on them, then the very next day we have a children's tournament.
Okay,
The very next day after that, while the fish are still there, we have a parent-child tournament. And you only are allowed to keep the 6 fish limit. But whether it's my nephew and myself, and I caught 3 and he caught 3, there's our 6 fish limit. But I need to have a license. And if I'm not a licensed angler, it doesn't matter if it's a pond in town or it's your buddy's farm pond, you need to have a license, which is just that extra tiny bit of revenue given back to the state at least, if not the town. And if we wanted to do it where we could do a town fishing license, ooh, that would be nice. We could do a day pass where people came in and did just strictly parks and recreations. I heard they had the trout in there. I wonder if they're still in there. Well, $20 a day or $10 a day, I can go fish all day long, but you only have a 6 fish limit. You do need to be a licensed angler. There's multiple ways that we could actually make money back for the town and for the state without just saying, there's this guy, he wants to put out the money and buy the fish, and we're gonna stock it, and let everybody just go fish at it. If you do that, it becomes, everybody and their brother shows up, and the children, which is what this is all about, is the kids, start being neglected on, I don't wanna ever pull up there and see 35 guys all standing there with their coolers waiting, and they're all ready, and there's 2 kids over here, because the parents were like, I don't really wanna encroach on their areas. I mean, we all know what Blockhouse Pond is. Blockhouse Pond is a big horseshoe, and that's all we have is about 30 yards, and other than that, it's a huge horseshoe. If it was set up the way I would like to set it up, it would be an all-day event where there would be not only fishing lessons, but cleaning the fish lessons, taking a generator out there and having a cooker for them to be able to, there's grills out there right now, being able to catch your fish and go, well, I'm actually hungry, I didn't have any lunch, and mom and dad see, because I have a tournament for my kids, and it was when the perch run was going on, and the perch run's still going on, but it was going on hard, and my tournament was, bring back your biggest fish, not every fish, your biggest fish. And from 11:30 until 6:30, I had kids in my parking lot throwing a baseball, eating fried fish that my crew was filleting up right for them, right in front of their parents. Some of their parents were like, well, I'd rather take this and go home at night. So we put it in a bag and packaged it for them, and the parents went home and they cooked it themselves that night. Other than, and on the other hand, the kids were playing around, and it was, all right, y'all, come on, let's go, here it is, and a big old plate of fried fish for them. And the kids were like, this is what I just caught, like, this is delicious. And if we're not getting the whole full spectrum of going fishing, it doesn't, it works for some kids get the passion of catching the fish. But as an angler, you get the passion of knowing how to catch the fish. And once you know how to catch the fish, you do catch the fish, and then you go home.
What to do
So
with
you're-
it.
So for myself, it's coming home to my wife. For the majority of you, it's your husband's coming home, and look what I've done, and then cook it, and it's food, and it's not McDonald's for another night. And while you're in McDonald's drive-thru, don't forget, you still gotta get on your phone and all that jazz, so.
So I have a question. I'm sorry, Rodney, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You
All right.
spoke first.
I saw you out of the corner of my eye. So as part of running the tournament, are you checking that people, adults or anybody over 16 does have a license?
There is no way you can start fishing unless you prove.
Okay.
it. You can't start fishing.
Okay. And my other question was, how large a tournament are you thinking? Like how many people for,
I'm thinking if I just threw it together, it probably 50 plus parents and kids. And then if word gets out and everybody says yes, and we get the ball rolling sooner than later, and I go push post tonight because I'm so happy that you guys said yes, there's a possibility of a lot. There's a possibility that it could be your 6 fish limit. Bye. Bye.
right,
Like, you get your 6 fish limit and you leave. And that's usually what happens at the ponds anyway, is the guys are like, took me an hour and a half. I caught all my fish. What'd you do? Well, I can only catch 6 in a day, so I left. Some of my clients went an hour and a half up the road to start fishing at 8 o'clock. 8:45 they were done. 10 o'clock they were back in my shop, going, look, what time did you get up to go? Like, we were there as soon as fishing time.
right.
So,
So is it feasible to think with one stocking, you could have 2 tournaments in order to accommodate people? Like if you had
2 days,
2 days,
not
immediately after stocking?
immediately after each other, Saturday and Sunday,
Okay,
right? And it couldn't be Saturday and then
the next Saturday.
Right.
Next Saturday, we're gonna have some big old girl bass. We're gonna have some big old bass eating some trout.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. That answers
I mean,
that.
It's just, that's just, I mean, you understand, it's the simplicity of it there. If there's a beautiful trout swimming around.
Well,
and
just
you didn't
checking,
catch
because
it-
I was just trying to think if you had,
Yeah.
if you had to put a limit on the number of people who could participate, how many people could you theoretically involve from one stocking? So is it possible to stock the pond more than once?
It would be up to the board, of course, there's a possibility
Okay.
of stopping it, yeah. So we could even do it like a lotto, so you know how, I mean, maybe you don't, but if I wanted to go turkey hunting, okay, in Delaware, and I wanted to go on state property, not my own farm, not my buddy's farm, but state property, you have to put in for tax.
Right.
Every state, now, we are very liberal with our hunting season, which God bless everybody in Delaware for letting us hunt. But most states, if you, especially if you're an out-of-stater and you wanna go hunt in a different state, you have to put in for a lottery. And you could go 3 years of never getting drawn tag. So 3 years, you put in, you pay the money, and it's a gamble, you don't get it. But we could do something like a lottery, you know, where we have a fishing tournament, and then for just adults, there's a lottery. There's a lottery for just adults, and then the town or the state gets a hold of me and goes, we got 300 people who wanna go fishing. All right, so then we'll stock it Saturday, we'll stock it Saturday, we'll stock it Saturday. And you do it as a lottery, so where these anglers are paying the state money that they might not ever get back, and they have no care in the world for it. They just wanna have that one opportunity to be able to go somewhere that they know, I know that's got trout. in it,
Right.
I know it's got this here.
Right.
So we can do, I mean, we could sit down and talk forever.
It just
about
depends on how
we-
ambitious
Yeah.
Right.
the
There are
project
some
is.
very
I
ambitious
think Marty,
anglers.
or,
Well, I meant you.
Rodney's got a
How
question.
ambitious, because this is, it's time,
Yeah.
certainly. I mean, it's reward, but I didn't know how much, and maybe even after the first time you do something, then you have more of an idea of risk and reward.
I remember growing up, and I remember when it would come out in the Cape Gazette, it would come out in the, News Journal, Parks and Recreation are stocking Blockhouse Pond on Saturday,
Yep.
March 3rd. And everybody would be, boop, right there. And you would go down there and just be like, man, I can't even find a spot, But it could get like that, which in that mannerism, it needs to be very much controlled, and very much regulated. I myself, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 clients, 5, 6, 7, 8 other licensed anglers who would take the 2 to 3 days off to just be there for whatever support, anybody would think we would
Okay.
need.
I think Rodney had a question.
Yeah, thank you. And I'd like to just generally ask a question. If this group was in favor of it, how does it proceed? Who approves it? Is it just up to the Parks and Rec commissioners? Or does it have to go before the city? Should there be a written application or a written proposal that addresses things like, is there registration? Are there fees involved? Who's going to manage it during the day? Who's going to see, that people are behaving appropriately? You might have to have the police on the alert if those kind of things happen all the time. And will there be prizes and awards at the end for the biggest or something? Who's going to manage that? I mean, there's just a lot of
Right.
organization. For example, there's a fishing tournament on the canal, the flounder tournament, which is this Friday, in honor of Joe. And that's organized. You know where the money's going. You know how to register.
Right.
They give awards for biggest flounder and so on and so forth.
And-
So there's a lot of organization that goes into this. It's a great idea. I support it. But I don't know if it's something you can pull off in a couple of weeks here.
Well, the one thing you never do is you never have a child's tournament that has a cash prize. You never have money involved.
Well, I didn't say a cash prize,
No,
but
I mean,
but some kind of an
no
award.
cash would ever
If it's
be-
children, it could be an award of some kind or
Absolutely.
whatever.
Absolutely. So my kids' tournament, I had 3 prizes. They were first place, second place, third place with a trophy. First place, second place, third place. Those 3 prizes were a tackle box for each first and second, third. Each one of those was filled from stock from my shop,
Right.
$150. And then one of my kids had a exact tie with one, but on weight-wise, another child won. So there became a 4th place prize. And if there needs to become a 6th place prize or a 10th place prize, I have no problem taking care of that.
Okay, all I'm saying is there needs to be some written proposal, some organization, so you're not just winging it.
Absolutely.
And that has to be, I would think that needs to be reviewed, I guess, by somebody in the city.
Yes.
So
I-
really all you need at this point is to see whether we have any objection to
is
it.
to see if this commission is agreeable that we could consider it, and then we would work out the details. I think, it may have to go to council, depending, I think we have to look at how big this is going to be. Generally, when we have events in the parks, we have a permit for that, and it kind of, it gets sent to the police, to the city manager, to maintenance, so that key departments are aware of it. And for something this size, I think, we would definitely want to do that, but I think definitely we would need to have something more formal in writing about how it's going to be laid out,
So
so.
you see how I speak today, would you want me to be the one to do the formal writing? Because I can write out anything and do an outline of how.
How about if you and I work together and Janet take a look at it? And then
Sounds great.
we'll bring it back to Parks next. I hate to make this, to nip this in the bud, but it sounds like this should be planned, when you think about what Rodney's saying, this should be planned And my personal thing is, I only want a children's tournament.
Okay?
I don't envision this getting out of control.
And I appreciate that, because I would not want to have it, so going back to the other question, I wouldn't want to have the availability for adults to go. I think there would be some alcohol down there, I think there'd be some.
Excuse me, Janet, it's Jackie.
Yeah, hi, Jackie.
Could everybody please use the microphone?
Who?
It's not coming
Everybody.
through at
Okay.
all.
All right. Okay, so everyone needs to be speaking more closely to the microphone so that Jackie can hear to be able to transcribe the minutes. So, Harry, can you
I've
restate what?
seen adult not tournaments, adult stocking where they follow the state truck.
Right.
And as the trout flow out of the pipe, there's 200 guys lining White Clay Creek, door to door to door. I mean, there was no elbow room at all. And these are pretty elaborate fishermen with all the accoutrements that.
I would have no opposition to children.
Yeah, and
None.
we just had a wonderful experience with the library. Marty can tell about it later, where we had 25 families, actually 15 families plant a tree. And it became a 3-hour experience for the whole family.
Right.
I envision this becoming an annual thing where we start posting it, we start making people aware of it. And I would love to see Lewis sponsor it. I mean, you certainly should get a sponsorship credit for your time and your money. But I would love to see this become something Lewis could do, and we'll try it a first year, and then we'll know if we can do it a second. But I think it's a great idea. I think your enthusiasm alone.
I appreciate that.
When we take it before council, you're going to be the man that.
I appreciate that.
But I
So,
really
so
like
at this point, I think that people feel it's a good idea. We just need more detail, more planning, and I think we can table it for now. And you, Harry, can work with Jordan, and we can hash some things out, and I can work with you too.
Right, and we'll bring it up next month. We would get it approved, and then it would be submitted to council. And
Right.
our city solicitor would have an opportunity to look at it for liability. But
And I mean, I would suggest capping the number of, because when you said, 47,000 followers and then
Yes.
another 30 in another state, my heart almost came out of my shirt because
Yes.
I'm thinking that park can't handle that.
but if it was a children's tournament.
No, I know.
And it became
but-
a family event, we don't have to have it grow.
No, we could have
Right.
100 spots or 75 spots,
Right,
and that's it.
right.
And,
So I think, those are some of the things that need to be hashed out as far as
Yeah,
logistics.
I think what I'd like to do is meet with Jordan, start to write down all the ideas. You look at them, and then we'll send it around to all of us for feedback. So we don't have to have a subcommittee meeting about this.
No,
But send it around between now and the next meeting and get some valid feedback about what everybody thinks, so that when we bring it back before the park commission, we really have it smoothed out.
Yeah, I would like to see a realistic review of how many child anglers we could reasonably have at the pond. I know there's a lot of places in the pond where the edge is fragile, and we have it on our radar screen to work on that and help repair some of that. But right now, a lot of that edge line is fragile, and if you had 100 people all trying to get to the water's edge to throw in a line, I think you might do a lot more damage to the pond, so,
Well, it's an 8-acre pond,
yeah.
and between the wind shear across the pond and the water flowing in from,
But I
it's
love
a
the idea.
stormwater
I love
pond.
the idea of having kids. One of my own favorite memories of Blockhouse Pond is maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I was there It was on a tree planting day, actually. It was Arbor Day tree planting day, but we only had one tree to plant that year. But there was a grandfather and his grandson, who might have been 5 years old, and the grandpa was teaching him how to fish. It was his first fishing day, and he threw in the line. The kid threw in the line, and he brought back a sunny. And that sunny was only 3 inches long, but boy, was he proud. It was a
Happy
great
boy.
moment.
I think it's really of merit. I think we should pursue it. But I hate to put the brakes on it for this year, but I think it does need, everybody says we have to be a little more cautious. We have to be
Understandable.
thought out.
Understandable.
But it would be great. Maybe you could even get the library involved. Well, because she sees all the kids
Right,
in the
right.
town, and I don't want to make it exclusive, I want to make it inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be great if we could get families involved, and we could do some of the show and tell that you're talking about, where we could have baiting demonstrations and everything else. I don't know how many people have a rod for their kids.
Right.
But, I mean, we could work all those details out, and we could,
It used to be special. It used to be one of the special event in my mind.
I like it,
Mhm.
I really
So-
like it.
I think it could be special for some other parents and some kids. I think it'd get a lot of people, off the couch and phones out of your hands and
Yeah,
have a
great.
good time, so.
And I really appreciate you talking about the kids on their phones, heads down, not talking to each other, and getting out in the fresh air, in nature, with their families, with their friends. So I think what I can do is I will email you, copy Harry, so that you two can connect, and then you have my email address. So,
Appreciate that.
but
And we can meet anytime you would like. We can meet formal, we can meet at the shop, we can have lunch, or something like that, and sit down and really
I'm not
talk it out.
We'll meet informally.
Sounds good.
We can start right at Blockhouse Pond and take a walk around Blockhouse.
That would be perfect,
And
actually.
I can point out, because we have fishermen now.
Yep.
We have children that are there all the time, all the way up to children that are 60, 70, 80 years old.
Big kids.
Yeah, that are fishing. But Marty's got a very good point, because we don't have an overmass, we don't have an overrun of fishermen.
Yeah.
There are lots of spots. I see them fishing off the island by the benches we've erected, so, I mean, there's lots of,
As it stands now, every single time I've been there, I have a gentleman, he's 15 years old, and he's, working papers, and he works for me. He's a huge bass fisherman. I have 4 or 5 other friends who have children that take their kids to Blockhouse Pond, and as far as right now, it's never overloaded too many, where
Right.
there's too many people fishing.
right. Well, I
There's
see,
people walking their dogs,
Mhm.
there's people coming and sitting at the picnic tables and hanging out, but it's never, wow, like I couldn't go fishing today because there's 35 people out here.
no, it's not
Yeah,
like,
I agree. I've never seen more than maybe half a dozen tops at a
Yeah.
time.
At one time.
But I do think that if you had 100, I would worry about it.
Absolutely.
I also think, Harry, we would think about, roping off some areas. We wouldn't want them to try to approach the shoreline.
Can I give you one idea? Surf tournament. There's a surf tournament that goes on, and it is a lot of work for these guys who do this surf tournament. They're in their trucks, they're out with their tires aired down, they're out on the surf on the beach. And the surf tournament goes from this pole, 30 yards, to this pole, that's block 10. And you draw block 10, and I'm sorry, that's not your favorite spot, but that's where you fish. And you have 30 yards to fish with. In something like a trout tournament, it wouldn't take anything more than some irrigation flags, minimal flags, little orange flags. And if we wanted to, just the spray paint on the grass is okay for, the week. You do it 15 times in a row, you're gonna kill the grass. But one shot, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you show up, or you get your lottery number. And it's simple. For myself, you already have the layout. There's a print that I know there's a layout of Blockhouse Pond. So we could actually put per area how many would be not invasive on the edge, but at the same time, how many can we pack in there in a, so a fisherman's etiquette is 30 yards. A fisherman's etiquette is 30 yards. If I'm in my boat and I'm out fishing, someone comes in, they get 15 feet from me, that's pretty rude, And most fishermen have an etiquette that they go, all right, so if I cast and wind's blowing, I'm possibly going to throw it over here on this line. Nobody wants to be that guy. So we could take, the area, the footprint of Blockhouse Pond and find out. Even if we gave them 40 yards, that way the parents could have a blanket down, the cooler down, and the kids fishing without having any interference. And there you got your dog with you too. And the dog's there too.
Right.
We could make if I'm just, because I do measure a lot, I do build for a living also. If I could see what that would be, just in my mind as a guesstimation, there wouldn't be more than 75 plots. And 75 plots, 1 through 75 on an 8-acre area, are gonna be some big area. It's gonna give you some decent area, like truly, probably in the 45 to 50 yard range. And for that to be one lottery spot, I can almost guarantee we'll fill them up with just parents who say, wow, I can't believe Lewis is doing this. And they just because Lewis is doing this, now they're intrigued to do it. And then say it happens 5 times to a year. And Blockhouse Pond and the town of Lewis is actually being able to gain revenue off something that we used to all do anyway. So.
Well, I don't think our goal is the revenue as much as having a tournament with the children and making this. I would love to make this an annual thing.
I would love
it would be a lot of fun. But Rodney mentioned the flounder tournament. When they have the flounder tournament in the canal, you can walk from one boat to the other without touching the water.
But they're also going after a sought-after fish that the state can't find a regulation size to stick with, and there's a huge cash prize.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the money.
Right.
It's not about fishing. It's about catching.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I think we can work out some of the details that you were talking, but I think that you have the support of the commission, and we thank you very much for coming in and talking with us tonight.
Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, so on to the commissioner's report, item C1. Warren, do you want to give us an update on 1812 and Mary Vessels?
Not too much to report. We had a tulip dig through all the parks in the downtown, and 26,000 tulips left in about 45 minutes, I think.
That long?
Well, they found that a couple places were hard to park at. I think Stango Park was the last because of the parking, probably. 1812 and Mary Vessels, we haven't planted yet. We're waiting for the irrigation to be turned on. Do you have any idea when that's going to be?
It's usually in mid-May, so I anticipate that it should be within a week or so. I think we had an awful lot of rain, so I think he was putting it off for a little bit.
Do you think in the future we might be able to get the water turned on earlier? I mean, it's really putting a lot of pressure on Lewis and Bloom when it's so late in the season.
I can talk to the contractor. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, because we have to just wait until the irrigation's on before we can plant in the ground.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Harry?
I'll just parrot what he said, is there's not a lot has happened. We are working on a lot. The only event that happened this month was a family event, planting trees, and Marty really does need to address that because she did address that. We do have a lot of planning going on for Juneteenth.
And I just want to say, Ed did send the maps of the planning and the layout. So Jordan, could you bring those up? They're the maps under the update on the community garden, I'm sorry, not the community garden,
Juneteenth.
Juneteenth.
Ed and I have been meeting once or twice a week with a committee just known as the Juneteenth Committee. And we've been meeting Zoom and walk-arounds the park and trying to accommodate everything. We've had some really interesting meetings. One, Janet arranged with the chief of police and the head of the city maintenance. Another we just recently had was with the farmers market to talk to them about, because it's all this events happening on the same day. So we have had a lot of very good conversation, but it's still in the process.
Okay, I'm just waiting to see if Julian, you're going to find it under C1 on the agenda, under the update on the community garden. Yep, there's 2.
All right, this first one shows the marked out spots. The blue little jelly beans are food trucks. We're accounting for 2 52-foot food trucks, which is really the big boys. And then the rest are smaller. The smaller ones will be out because Trina wanted to have 10 food trucks. So we could fit 6 inside the park, and they're going to be coming in straight off of Park onto the asphalt entrance down onto the grass. The other 4 or 5 food trucks are going to be parked on the park side of DuPont, and the city has agreed to block that side of the street off with no parking. We're going to hold back. We're going to use use the parking lot after farmers market for drop off for our vendors and for handicap drop off. The 3 red squares represent one is going to be the stage with a canopy, and that one's closest to John's house. The other 2 red ones are going to be 20 by 20 tents with picnic benches inside of it so people can rest in the shade. And then the white one is going to be a 40 by 20 foot tent. So we'll have great viewing area of the stage, and that's the most level area in the park. So it'll give us a chance. We have 2 dance troupes that are going to be dancing on the grass. This event goes from 1 to 6, so we'll be out of there long before dark. The other square or rectangles are where the vendor tents are going to go. They're going to go on both sides of that walkway. One will be just 1 tent wide. The second one will be 2 tents wide. It'll be a little tent village of vendors. And we're going to be putting them together the same way that Rehoboth puts their tents for their farmers market. They'll touch. There won't be space around the sides. They will touch. So we're going to be able to get a lot more vendors in. And then we're also going to have a small motorcycle and auto show that'll take place in the park, and they'll enter through the farmers market entrance after everyone is cleared out of that parking lot. We're also going to be we got permission to use Cape Henlopen's field right behind Trina's house, and it's a large enough field that we're going to have volunteers, and we're going to try to park a lot of our visitors there. So that's pretty much how we're going to do it. The latest thing, you can see 2 yellow long lines, is the city has, and actually it was the farmer's market too, that encouraged us to block off parking on both sides of DuPont and one side of Johnson, just to facilitate people getting in and out so that we don't have traffic jams. The police are involved, the fire police are involved, so we should have good control. Traffic control is our biggest concern. So that's as far as we have gotten with the layout. And Ed and I really have been much, much more involved with the park, because that's the part that we know. And so we've sort of taken what the African American Commission has come to us with, and we said, well, now how can we fit this all in? It's like a Rubik's Cube.
It is. It'll be busy. And the rain date on that is June 26th,
Yes,
but we'll hope for sunshine.
we do.
Thank you, Harry. Ray, you want to give us an update on Zwannendale?
Sure. As Warren said, the Tulip Day went very well, and we had a cleanup day 2 days after. Over the course of the month, Sussex Tree came in and removed the 2 hollies that were encroaching on the wooden shed, and also the spruce that was in the middle of the garden. It never fared very well. 4 small trees on the bathroom side of the garden, on the bathroom side of the fountain, were removed and replanted, and new flowers were planted in the garden. And again, we're struggling with the lack of irrigation and getting everything in the ground. So whenever the irrigation is on, if you could let us know, then Lewis and Bloom can get on that. Waiting to hear from Envirotech on the fountain to make sure that we get it sealed before we do fill it.
I did put another call into them today.
Okay,
I think those calls go into a black hole,
Yeah.
but I'm staying on top of it.
I appreciate that. And then again, the lamppost to be erected was waiting on the sewer line, so the electrical can be run to that. So that will just be on hold until the sewer line's run.
Okay.
And that's it.
Anything, Ray, on the community garden?
You know, garden started out, everybody knows the weather's been just cold and rainy and not very good, so the gardeners are struggling to get their stuff to grow. But the garden's off to another great start this year.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. God bless you. Rodney, Canalfront Park?
Yes, Canalfront Park briefly. The concrete pad is in. I understand the temporary sculpture is going to be placed tomorrow. The Friends group has the summer organized. The first concert is June 9th. It's an evening concert. It's one of 5 that they have planned with various bands, musical groups. They plan for 2 movies to be presented, and 1 children's play will be there. And the times and the schedule for this is going to go out this week to the city, where they'll post it in various shops and stores and share it with everybody.
Okay.
So it'll be widely distributed.
Great.
That's all.
Thank you. Marty, the tree program?
Okay, as everyone has alluded to, the big event this year, this month, was the Arbor Day planting on April 30th in George H.B. Smith Park. 25 trees in the ground, they're all natives. Most of the planting was done by the teen group, Roots and Shoots, from the library. A few other local residents came by and decided they wanted to get in on the action, so we had some other people come in. We had several commissioners come. Candace and Christine were there, and Janet. We all got kind of muddy, and it was great
Harry
fun.
and Ed.
Harry and Ed were there, and yeah, it was great fun. We had a state senator, Ernie Lopez, was there, and the trees are doing fine. I've been by and inspecting them, and so far they're doing all right.
Well watered.
Yeah.
Talk about the state forester and how you had that program.
The state forester, she's Taryn, what's her last name?
Davidson.
Taryn Davidson from she's with the urban and community forestry program. It's part of the Delaware State Forestry Service. And she came and gave a little talk on how to properly plant trees. And then she helped us plant them and gave hands-on instruction to the kids, so it was great.
Lots of handouts from the
Lots of
library,
handouts, lots of
from the
good
state.
handouts on tree,
Lots of swag.
the tree owner's manual and a lot of other things, and some swag. I actually went on another planting this past Saturday. As we've said, Janet and I became certified tree stewards with the state of Delaware. And as part of my tree stewardly duties, I went up to Milford and helped the community plant, I think it was 47 trees. And there, the whole community came out, and Taryn wasn't there, but Keisha was there, her boss.
Mm-hmm.
And we planted 47 trees, and they're trying to increase the buffer between the main street and their community, and also just make it more beautiful, have more tree cover in the whole community. So that was great, too.
Thank you. Barry's not here tonight, but he did send me a report on the Great Marsh Park. The big news there is that we're moving forward on the development of the master plan. On March 29th, Barry, Rodney, Marty, and myself met with Eric Wall from Pannoni and did a walkthrough on all the sections of the park. It's 66 acres, so I think we were out there for 4 hours. We did, discuss the diversity and the vegetation and the environments and, the challenges and opportunities with both. We noted the invasive species, and Marty went out after we met on another day and tagged, I don't know how many trees, Marty, that were natives.
I actually tagged probably about 12 of them.
Yeah. So that was a good start. We talked about, some ideas as we planned for the public workshop. The survey of the boundaries is done. They identified wetlands, and we were waiting on the topography, I think. So the next step is getting input from the community. We have scheduled a public workshop for June 7th from 4 to 7. So I would encourage everyone to who's available to come to that and share your ideas. They also had Barry, I don't think you were there, Rodney, but had an opportunity to talk with the director of the sculpture park in New York called Storm King, and he took a walk in the park. His wife actually is Vivian Collins, who did the installation of the pink squirts in the George H.P. Smith Park. So while she was installing her art piece, he and a few others took a walk through Great Marsh Park just to get some conceptual ideas. It's just an idea. And then the public art report, they completed 2 installations, the Vivian Collins pink squirts in George H.P. Smith Park, and the Rose DeSanto obelisks also in George H.P. Smith Park, and the silent monuments. So those 2 went in. They both of those pieces have multiple pieces within that their installation. The last of the installations is Letha Wilson, and that is going in tomorrow at Canalfront Park. The Public Art Committee did have an application for a permanent sculpture at recommended for Canalfront Park, and that was presented by Art and Bloom. Because it is a permanent sculpture, the committee had a lot of additional questions regarding the location, so that is on for further discussion. Harry?
I would like to make a suggestion on future installations that the artists take some responsibility in installing. They show up sometimes ready to install, sometimes ready to put it together, but they have not planned it, and they don't always have the labor or the help, and they expect us to be responsible. And I don't think that is the way we should go about it. I think the artist needs to be hands-on with this installation. And
Well, I know these two separate installations did require a lot of really putting the sculptures, putting the pieces together. The piece that went in last year at Canalfront Park, it was the artist and her assistant that really did everything. So I can certainly share your comments with the committee. But they are, these pieces did require a lot of assembly in the park.
it was evident that the pink squiggle, what did you call them?
They're pink squirts.
The pink squirts, the bases, no one had drilled holes. They had never been assembled.
Oh, okay.
There was no dry run.
Okay.
And so Ed was on a ladder for probably 4 hours. And then if it wasn't for Christine's husband the next day, and Billy Lehman, Nancy's husband, and Nancy was involved, if it wasn't for them, these sculptures would not have gone up.
Okay. Thank you for that. I will get that information to the committee. So I think that's all that Barry had, so I will turn it over to you, Christine.
Thank you. Thank you for acknowledging my husband's help with that. He doesn't mind it, but I think more preparation is required.
Yeah, well, he worked hard.
He did.
Right down, and one of the councilmen also helped him polish the stainless steel.
That made the Cape Gazette.
Yeah, somebody got in the Cape Gazette for it. So, for Stango Park, our report, Marty kind of set this up, but I would like to mention that Bartlett Tree performed tree maintenance in the library, which I thank you very much for. They limbed up primarily the oaks along Freeman Highway, and also cleaned up the crepe myrtles in the LA. And these trees were planted in 2016, and they're thriving, doing really well, and and the LA in particular is looking very nice, considering the fact that we've had to replace a few here and there, and try and get trees that were the same size so that they all matured at the same time. And I think we finally gotten there, and it's looking really good. So thank you for setting that up.
You're welcome. I agree. I think those crepe myrtles are really starting to look, they're coming into the room now.
Yeah. This year in particular, very nice. So in addition to that, I think the only thing I need to add is that Candace and Janet and I met with Patrick to sort of review the landscape design plan for the front of this building, and hash out a few details. And we've decided to, at this point in time, postpone the planting for the area in front of the community center until we perhaps review with the city what we need to do about the drainage issues in that bed. But we'd like to move forward with the landscape plan for the front of the building and hopefully do it in time for the American in Bloom judging.
That would be
So
wonderful.
we're going to try and at least do that. And Patrick's aware of that, and I think it is something that we can complete in time.
And
Thank you very much
and
for your
that's-
consideration,
Oh, you're
Christine.
welcome.
When is that, Warren?
July 11th
11th?
and 12th.
Don't
11th
tell
and
me
12th.
it's June. There goes my heart again.
Well, I hope we'll be ready by July 11th.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We don't want to give our chair
Yeah.
a heart attack. It's not a good thing. So I'd just like to,
Yeah, no. If not now, when?
yeah, right. So the Library Pavilion project is underway in terms of the planning for it. And city stakeholders and University of Delaware and other folks that are part of a small committee to help shape what is needed met. And then those requirements or the consensus was provided to the architect so that he could take that and refine the drawings that had been started. There are a lot of elements to this project that need to be decided, not the least of which will be the perspective of the pavilion, which way it'll face, wind questions, roof lines. There are many, many things. So I don't want to give you the impression that it is refined to a point where all these things are known. It's in the infant stages of the planning, but the purpose of it is being defined and has been refined. And so many parts of that are now submitted to the architect for him to come back with some other information that can be pulled together with the stakeholders, and then the development of the project will continue. So still going on, and Christine and I are partners in this stakeholder group, so it's clear that, when it comes time for landscaping and other things, Lewis and Bloom, Warren was with us as well, of course. So when time comes, it'll look cohesive, and it'll all be part of a seamless park.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Kay,
I think I'm the problem child.
how are the beaches?
Well, on the positive, you've ordered the signs. You've talked to Rogers Signs about the big signs.
Yes, but they're not ordered yet.
Okay,
Yes,
okay. So.
it's on my list.
On your list, okay. I mean, there are a couple of major things.
Don't ask me where on the list.
Another sign will be for the lifeguard situation. So,
yeah.
Because people probably have seen it both in the newspaper and on the city website, that we don't have enough lifeguards to have a lifeguard crew. So for insurance reasons, there will be no lifeguards. And so that presents another set of.
Well, we have two signs that say no lifeguard on duty.
Right.
And we are ordering 4 more. So that there is enough signage, because historically, they have been guarded beaches. So we've ordered those. I also made signs to put on the bathhouse doors for the men's and women's room, indicating, that they're not guarded, swim at your own risk. And then we're also putting them on the parking meters at the beach, so when people go up to pay, it will be on the window at the parking meter office for, if they're looking for assistance. So we're doing as much signage as we can down there. We'll also do an email blast out to those who subscribe for the notifications from the city. Anne Marie did speak with, I think it's the Association of Realtors.
Oh, to have the real estate companies.
Right, so
something
that
to say
they're
about.
aware of what's going on and they can, advise their,
renters.
right. So, the big thing that the insurance company wanted to know was, what are we doing to push this out?
Right,
So,
right. And that's
So.
really all you can do at this
Right.
point. And I suspect this may be permanent, judging from the way things are going and, where can kids come from Wilmington to live here and
right,
work?
well,
It's-
and I think that, what the city is going to do, and we did aggressively try and recruit. We went to the colleges, we went to the high schools, We had it in the paper multiple times. The issue was that in all, we had, I think, 5 applicants, 2 were returning, and then I think we had 3 or 4 other applicants, but we were down 2 last year, and I think this year, I mean, we were down by 50% of what we needed. So it just wasn't safe. It's almost less safe to run with a lower crew than to say it's not guarded.
It's a
So,
liability.
Yeah, yeah,
I attended that
Yeah.
meeting with Anne Marie, and it was interesting to hear the other areas say exactly the same thing. They are going to have to post the same kind of signs. They really are having a very difficult time finding lifeguards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just, so when you have guests coming, just
Right.
let everybody know, and
Yeah.
this is our situation, and we just have to move forward and, do
Right.
the best we can, and I think hopefully, visitors will rise to the
Right.
occasion. And
So, and I mean, we're still kind of debriefing, and we'll have to put together some sort of plan again for next year, because, I mean, we don't want it to happen, so if we can come up with something more creative, I don't know what that would look like, but if anybody has any ideas. But I think, a lot of businesses are struggling to get help. It's not just the beaches, so I think it's what we're facing.
Yes.
So.
Yes, yeah, it's employment all over the place.
Mhm.
So, yeah. So,
Can I make a minor comment?
Sure.
too? I don't think it's a major issue, but a lot of Hispanics use the beach. And I don't know if it would be appropriate to put some language in there that would explain
We-
that as well.
no lifeguards in Spanish.
Yeah,
Because
I
we
know,
talked
I
about
just-
having Spanish signs for next year, so this, it sounds like for this issue, if we could push it to this year, I think that's a good idea, because,
I did make up signs in Spanish as
Good.
well. Thank you.
good, thanks for
It's
thinking of
it's
that.
a lot of, I don't know,
Yeah.
you're there on the beach more than
Yeah,
I am,
you
but
definitely have, especially Sunday afternoon, you have a lot of
Young-
Hispanic
young-
families with
which is
young, with
great.
young kids.
Young
But if people
kids.
come expecting help with that, because maybe they don't swim, so they'll come to Savannah Beach or Johnny Walker Beach,
Right.
thinking that there's going to be a lifeguard to help with that, they need to know
Right.
as soon as possible. So I think that's very smart. Yeah, thanks for doing that.
And I think that one of the issues that's going to be concern is jet skis coming too close into the shore, because it's
Yesterday
not going to
afternoon.
be, right.
Yesterday afternoon, they were right at the edge. So,
So that's something else that, we as city staff need to consider and
will you be
think about.
putting out the markers, the buoys, to mark the swimming area for that? Because that at least is some. that at
It's
least is a
something,
help.
I don't know that there's anybody in the city right now that knows how to do that.
She would
Because,
take them out on a paddleboard.
because
and-
the guards did that.
Yeah, Alicia would do it with a
Yep.
paddleboard.
Yep. So, I'll be talking to her,
Okay,
so.
okay. 'Cause
But,
that
I
would
mean,
certainly help.
those are all, considerations that we're still working through.
I have one other thing I'd like to mention about the fact that there has been a concern about the no diving issue in shallow water. And that's something that the lifeguards help to regulate. And, I feel it's unfortunate that we don't have lifeguards to help enforce that in particular. And there has been a concern about that, particularly because of an incident that occurred. I don't know how you address it, but I just think we need to be aware of it, that there is a danger.
It's something people need to consider. And it's very difficult to know how to tell people so that they listen. And hopefully the signage will be effective.
Well,
And
I
people
I
will
did
do what
include that on
other-
the signs
did.
as
You
well.
did. I
Yep,
noticed
shallow
that.
water, no
No
diving.
diving.
And that's all
Yeah.
you can do, but
Yep,
there are people in the community that are very concerned about that.
Yes,
because of the
as they,
particular
and as
incident.
they should be, because it is an issue,
Mhm.
especially if you're coming from somewhere else and you're not
Yep.
familiar with what you're getting into.
Right.
And when you see the size of the sandbar, they were, exposed yesterday because of the moon, and and they're sizable. So, it really helps you see how, an hour after the tide starts coming back in, how you can't tell they're there.
Right.
So, yeah, it's definitely a safety issue.
mhm.
The other main issue is storm, I guess, the wind and the tides. Luckily, Savannah Beach and Johnny Walker Beach are so deep that they were able to withstand a lot of that, but the dune in between is definitely moving, and I was hoping I could talk to Tony Pratt and get some information from him about what's happening, what to expect, what do we fight, what do we accept, and, what's a smart use of our time and energy with it. It certainly fills in on Virginia Avenue, so I don't know when I don't know how much we spend on that. I did notice there is a lot of sand in the Ocean House parking lot, and I don't know if if the city should move it from that, or if Ocean House.
I think
responds.
Ocean House needs to do that.
Okay, I don't know if they'll just push it into the street,
Well,
or,
they might, I
I don't
don't,
know.
yeah.
I don't know, but
but-
it's pretty deep.
Mhm.
And this coming weekend is supposed to be spectacular, so if they have a lot of people coming, they'll probably clean that this week.
Okay.
There's a lot of scour around the snack shack, and now that one bench, which is a commemorative bench, is at a severe angle. And so if the streets guys could prop that, because it's going to take machinery to make that happen. But there's an accretion of sand in front of the snack shack as you're on the beach looking up at it. Sand is definitely high right here, and then it's extremely low on that side.
Okay, I'll have them,
So
we'll
if
take
they
a look
could
at it.
move that around, that would
Yeah.
probably pretty much equal out. And then that bench, that would be
They,
great.
they've had and I'm not making excuses, but they had a very busy week. They were working on the Roosevelt Inlet parking lot, and they still have to do the striping up there. So that's where they've been spending a lot of their time in between, the regular trash and recycle pickup. But I'll go with Kenny and we'll take a look at it.
That would be great. That would be really helpful. And then if they could put up, keep off the dune signs on that one area,
Yep,
which is.
I've talked to him about that.
That would be great, because people are using that as an access to the dunes.
Right, right.
So that would be wonderful. There were a lot of people there yesterday, and everybody was enjoying themselves. And let me know what I can do, if you need me to make calls or whatever.
Okay,
Happy to.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Julian, is Judy Jeffers still with us? I thought I saw her. Okay. Hi. Hi.
I am here.
And what do you have to report for recreation for us?
I did talk to Kay, and we talked about putting up the volleyball net at Johnny Walker Beach, but I guess we're gonna do that somewhere around Memorial Day.
Yeah, maintenance usually puts that up before the Memorial Day holiday.
Okay. And as I drove by, there were people in the baseball field and, playing baseball, and pickleball people are out. We haven't done anything at the playground yet with mulch. And I had asked you if we were ordering the caps to try to see if we could neaten up the park.
Yep.
There. And then I did have a meeting with some of the Rotary members that are very anxious to hear about maybe starting the can-do or the boundless playground for all abilities. So that's always in the works on, you know, things that are talked about with people about playgrounds.
Okay.
But other than that, that's about what I have.
Okay, and the tennis courts and basketball court will be closing sometime in June. We're in the process of scheduling a meeting again with the contractor to get that project
Resurfacing.
wrapped up. Yes, yeah. So hopefully I'll have more information on that at the next meeting.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
thank you. Any other comments? Is there a motion to adjourn? It is 5 minutes to 8.
Motion to adjourn?
Is there a second? Thank you, Rodney. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Learn more about this.
More than I needed to know.
See you next time.